Just to start. Is God even real? Do we come from an intelligent higher power, or are we the product of random events that created life? Let's think about that. If you put corresponding puzzle pieces in a shoebox and shake it, you will never open the box to find the puzzle assembled. In fact, if you shake it continuously, they would wear each other down over time, making it more and more impossible to ever fit together. And that's actually a law of physics. The second law of thermodynamics essentially states that things tend to fall out of order, as it says that the total entropy, which means disorder, of an isolated system always increases over time, meaning systems naturally move towards a more disordered state. So that essentially disproves that creation fell into order randomly. So the Big Bang theory and the theory that there was nebular dust that came together to form the astros, and that the Earth's primordial soup in the ocean randomly captured amino acids in seafoam to form the first cell, and that some random cells came together to form the first multicellular organism, theories stand opposite to the second law of thermodynamics. Super significant, because any way you cut it, the scientists have got it wrong, as both positions cannot simultaneously be correct. They stand in opposition to one another. Still, many of the scientific community will try to ironically use the laws of physics and science to disprove the God who created them. The God that even created the same mind that they question him from. Instead of understanding that the very principles they use were not invented by men but actually only discovered by men. For example, the concept of math. Again, not invented but discovered. The ancient Greek philosopher Pythagoras noted and said that arithmetic is a reflection of reality. For example, 1 plus 1 equals 2, in a real physical way. 1 object plus 1 object equals 2 objects in the physical world. 1 object plus 1 object equals 1 object would be a false statement, or 1 object plus 1 object equals 3 objects would also be a false statement as well. No. 1 object plus 1 object equals 2 objects. And this is the only answer. And this is universally applicable in any language or in any part of the world or in any part of the universe. As again, it's universal. And concepts are conceived. Right. By minds. And these concepts were conceived by a mind. The mind of God. And so if you can come to realize that there is a creator and higher power. Cool. But then you might ask. Who? Buddha from Buddhism. Allah from Islam. Brahma from Hinduism. Shiva from yoga. The clockwork elves that people see when they do ayahuasca, which is a psychedelic drug. No. It's only Jesus who said he is the only way. John 14:6. Jesus saith unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father, but by me. He is the only one that can prove he is God by calling out events before they happen. Isaiah 46:10-11. Declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, My counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. Calling a ravenous bird from the east, the man that executeth my counsel from a far country, yea, I have spoken it, I will also bring it to pass. I have purposed it, I will also do it. I'll say that I could be wrong for the following, but the Bible is never wrong. It could be I misunderstood, but this is why I believe in God, that he's calling out the future in the world around us today. One of Bible prophecies is that Israelites would be expelled from Israel and scattered around the world. Leviticus 26:33-34. And I will scatter you among the heathen, and will draw out a sword after you, and your land shall be desolate, and your cities waste. Then shall the land enjoy her Sabbaths, as long as it lieth desolate, and ye be in your enemy's land. Even then shall the land rest, and enjoy her Sabbaths. Another one of the Bible prophecies is that Israel would be regathered into their nation. Deuteronomy 30:1-5. And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whither the Lord thy God hath driven thee. And shalt return unto the Lord thy God, and shalt obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thine heart, and with all thy soul. That then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity, and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations, whither the Lord thy God hath scattered thee. If any of thine be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will the Lord thy God gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. And the Lord thy God will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it. And he will do thee good, and multiply thee above thy fathers. Now remember Leviticus 26:34 from above for the next one here about the land having its Sabbaths. The Sabbaths were not a law for Israel but for all of humanity since creation. When God made the universe he did it in 6 days and on the seventh day he rested and sanctified it. Genesis 2:2-3. And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made. And he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day, and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. And in 2 Peter it says that a day for God is 1,000 years. 2 Peter 3:8. But, beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is one day. Now on the Bible's chronological genealogy, where there's a daisy chain of all the patriarchs stating the amount of years they lived and the age they were when begot the next patriarch. Based on this chronological genealogy we have about 2,000 years from Adam to Abraham. About another 2,000 from Abraham to Jesus Christ. And it has been almost another 2,000 since Jesus Christ's crucifixion as we are living in the year of our Lord 2025 now. If God was crucified at the age of 32 then in the year 2032 that would be 2,000 years since his crucifixion. That's a total of 6,000 years which to God is 6 days and on the seventh day the earth must rest and of course that rest will be the 1,000-year millennial reign of Jesus Christ on earth. Of course a 7-year tribulation described in the book of Revelations must happen right before that 1,000 can begin and not to be an alarmist but the year 2032 7 equals the year 2025. Now compiling that with the parable of the fig tree in the Bible which people interpret as the nation of Israel being reborn in 1948 and in this parable of the fig tree it states that this generation shall not pass. Then we have a possible convergence of prophecies as the Bible states that a generation should be 70 years or 80 years by reason of strength then 1948 which was the year Israel became a nation again plus 70 or 80 years equals 2018 to 2028. And you could even compile that with the fact that the atheist world thinks we are at the end of humanity. You shouldn't believe everything that is in the internet however the powers that be in this evil world that control the interwebs are driving the agenda and if you Google search it, the number one Google answer is that the maximum holding capacity of the earth before we run out of food is 10 billion people. We're already at a population of 8 billion and Google predicts that by 2050 we will hit the 10 billion. I also don't need to say that we are sitting on a powder keg where we have so many nuclear weapons and world conflict, that the scientific community has even come up with what they call the doomsday clock, and they claim we are very very close to nuclear destruction. But back to the prophecies and the world around us today. That 7-year tribulation that is just before Jesus Christ's return and his 1,000-year reign which begins in Revelations 11:1 with a geopolitical peace treaty that's in the works now. Remember Donald Trump's Abraham Accords which were peace treaties with all of the Islamic world nations enticing them into peace with Israel by offering beneficial concessions to enrich their nations. Well now that Trump is elected again these peace treaties called the Abraham Accords will be worked on again and could very possibly give way to this prophecy in Revelations 11:1. Revelation 11:1-3. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod. And the angel stood, saying, Rise, and measure the temple of God, and the altar, and them that worship therein. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not. For it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread under foot 42 months. And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. Please note that as the Bible prophesied that Israel would be scattered. Israel was scattered for nearly 2,000 years since the year 70 AD when the Romans expelled the Jews from Judea, and since, Israel has not been a nation. Please note that the above prophecy of Revelations 11:1 which is an end times prophecy as it kicks off the 7-year tribulation before the 1,000-year millennial kingdom of Jesus. Note it requires the existence of Israel being a nation and having the temple as no other people group would build a Jewish temple that has to be there in the end times. And that's going to happen. They don't have a temple yet but they became a nation again in 1948 after nearly 2,000 years of being scattered. And you could look this up if you don't believe me. But there is efforts by the Temple Institute in Israel to rebuild the temple again. And of course within that 7-year tribulation in the book of Revelations there are so many technologies that did not exist until just recently. Please realize that someone 2000 years ago wrote all this and really went out on a limb when he wrote this. So some of these prophecies that are to happen during the 7-year tribulation is 1. Revelations 11:1 predicts the nation of Israel being in their land in the end times, which again was fulfilled in 1948, and it predicts that they will make a peace treaty that will enable them to build their temple, which of course hasn't happened yet but probably will soon. Revelation 11:1-2. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, Rise, and measure the temple of God, and the altar, and them that worship therein. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not. For it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread under foot 42 months. 2. Revelations 11:9 predicts live streaming when it say the 2 witnesses of God that prophesy in the beginning of the tribulation will be killed, and the world will observe their bodies in the streets just laying there for 3.5 days. Revelation 11:9. And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and an half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. 3. Revelations 13:7 predicts a one-world government. And today we see so many nations and people walking in lockstep towards globalism and a world without borders. Revelation 13:7. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds, and tongues, and nations. 4. Revelation 13:14-15 an image with artificial intelligence that is hooked up to the interwebs. Revelations 13:14-15. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. Saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword, and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. 5. Revelations 13:16 the mark of the beast, which could only happen with technologies similar to Elon Musk's Neuralink, which could be used to link accounts and cryptocurrencies to people. Revelation 13:16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand, or in their foreheads. To those with ears let them hear, to those with eyes let them see, and to those with understanding let them understand.